the district and work with local government to pass policy and secure the resources to help meet those needs. Congresswoman Hoyle has worked tirelessly to bring federal dollars home to Lane County, helping us with numerous initiatives and programs, from improving public safety with funding to upgrade and expand our countywide first responder radio system, to being a tenacious advocate for helping people recover from historic wildfires and last year's ice storm, and for her long history as a fierce champion for healthcare access for all healthcare services for all people. This includes, and particularly important to me, includes her support for the county's Behavioral Health Stabilization Center, which we are working to build and stand up in the very near future. Congresswoman Hoyle spends a lot of time in DC, but she has us with her when she's there. We are never far from her mind. The people of District 4 are with her, whether she's 3,000 miles away or right here in District, and we are so lucky to have her here in District tonight. Before I introduce the Congresswoman, I want to briefly walk us through a few logistics for how we're going to run this event tonight, and also encourage you all to please stay seated just for a few minutes after the Congresswoman leaves so we can share some announcements and information with you. When you signed in, you should have received a little ticket if you wanted to be able to ask a question. I will pull those at random, and I'll read out the numbers, and someone will get a mic quickly to you as quickly as possible. It's a big room, and there's a couple of folks from Congresswoman's staff who are going to work to get you a mic. Please wait for that mic. Not everyone can hear. Even if you're an old theater kid like me and you think you can project, it can be really hard for some folks to hear. So please wait for the mic to get in your hand before you ask your question. Thank you for doing that. We will undoubtedly have more people wanting to ask questions than we will have time to get to tonight. Congresswoman Hoyle's staff is here to connect with you. They have a QR code they can share, or they will help you with other ways to get in touch with them so that you can get the answers that you need. And please, I'm going to ask, out of respect for others who are waiting their turn, be as clear and brief as possible with your question. Sometimes folks just have information they want to share or a statement that they want to make, and the Congresswoman wants to hear those things, but tonight is just for questions so that she can give you her response and everyone can hear her answer. So please stick to a question, be as brief as you can. I see some folks brought signs. Great way to express what you care about. I'm going to ask that you keep those down during the event so that they're not blocking the view of anyone behind you. Thank you for that. And finally, I wanted to say that I know we are all here tonight. We made a choice to be here. And we're here because we care. We care about our communities, we care about our neighbors, we care about our coworkers and our families, and we care about the future. And I also know that we might not all agree on the issues that affect us. And disagreement is okay. Disrespect, though, is not. I'm sure we've all seen videos of town halls around this country, at least in the districts where the members make themselves available to their constituents to be accountable to the people that they represent. We've seen videos of some of these town halls really devolving into something that's not helpful or productive. And so it makes sense right now that people have a lot of energy around issues that they care about. That's great. But I'm asking each and every one of you to please be respectful of everyone else who's here in this auditorium tonight, as well as to our representative and her staff for being here in the district. She always has shown up, and she has always presented her positions respectfully. So I'm going to ask all of us, can we all agree that even if we have really strong opinions or differences of opinions, that we will stay respectful and let everyone be heard? Let's show the country how you have a respectful town hall, shall we? Great. And now, Congresswoman Hoyle. She has a wonderful bio. There's lots you need to know about her. It's all available on her website. I can tell you that I've known the representative since long before either of us were in public office in our work in the nonprofit sector. She truly comes from a grassroots mindset that cares about people and community with an absolute commitment to working people. She has been in Congress working for all of you and currently is serving on the House Committee for Natural Resources, including as the ranking member, on the subcommittee on water, wildlife, and fisheries, in addition to serving in the House Committee for Transportation and Infrastructure. She moved to Lane County over 25 years ago and lives here with her husband, Stephen. She's raised 2 children here. They are both proud union members. I hope you will please join me in giving a very warm welcome to our Congresswoman, Val Hoyle.
Hello, and thank you so much for being here today. This is my 13th town hall this year. Just since January, this is my 4th in Lane County. This district goes from the California border, Curry County, all the way up Curry, Coos, coastal Douglas, all of Lane, all of Benton, and all of Lincoln County. So it's a very large district, but I try and get out to every part of the district when I'm home. They've been keeping us, the Republican majority has been keeping us in DC for a lot. I can understand why they wouldn't want to go home and face their constituents, but that's certainly something that I plan on doing and I will continue to do. What I will say is it's not an easy time to be in Congress, right? Elections have consequences. We don't hold the levers of power, and the executive branch and Mike Johnson, John Thune, they are trying to take power wherever they can. My Republican colleagues in the House have handed over the power of the legislature, whether it's on tariffs, whether it's holding the executive branch accountable. So it is frustrating, but what we can do is continue to speak up and continue to show up, which is what I'm doing and what I do every day in Congress. I will also say there are elected officials that have been murdered, that have been seriously, grievously injured. I know every single one in the Oregon delegation, myself included, and throughout the country, Congresspeople have gotten very credible threats. I get them on a regular basis. So we do have security, and what I will say is they want us to not show up. They want us to not show up, but I'm not gonna back down. But what we will say, and I think Commissioner Trieger said it well, I will respect anyone's opinion, and we have people here with different opinions, but we can't have people being overly aggressive, or we're going to have to act on that. We want to make sure that everyone that is here is safe, and we want to make sure that people have their voices heard. Finally, with everything that's going on with like incoming fascism, the downfall of democracy, all of those things, we also day to day do the work of a congressional office. So if you have an issue with the IRS, because the administration fired a whole bunch of people that are good federal workers that show up and do the work every day. If you're having trouble with the IRS, or with your veterans benefits, or with Social Security, like getting through to Social Security, we've talked to people who have waited 6 to 8 hours and then gotten disconnected. Contact our office. If you need to get a passport expedited, contact our office. If you're having immigration issues, or you know someone that has immigration issues, is having issues with ICE, has been picked up, call our office. Call our office. That's what we do every single day. Student loan payments, any federal agency, contact us. Will my staff raise their hands? So these are the unsung heroes, I don't know, or maybe stand up so people can see you. The unsung heroes in the room, every single day, they answer the phone and help people out, and sometimes people who are at their most desperate. So I'm here to answer questions, and I will do the best I can to answer the questions as best I can. So with that, would you please call? So what we're going to do is we'll call, and Commissioner Trieger will call a number. If you have your number, please.
We're going we're gonna only allow people who have their number drawn to be a speaker tonight. If you have a question for the Congresswoman, please reach out to one of her staff so that she can address that issue for you. I'm gonna start by drawing a couple. Everybody who has a ticket, I think they all start with the same first three, 423. So I'm just gonna read the last 4 digits. And I'm going to read 2 right now just to get somebody speaking and then on deck. So our first question will be from the person with ticket last 4 digits 2825. Would you raise your hand so staff can get you the mic? 2825.
Right back there.
And after 2825 will be 2764. So 2764 would raise their hand so staff knows where they're going next. 2764 here, right nearby. How handy, thank you. So if you would stand up if you'd like to share your name with the Congresswoman and then ask your question.
Hi, Carolyn Taylor. I'd like to start with a couple of questions to the audience as a kind of poll before my question to you. The first is, I'd like to know how many people in this room knew that this was in the Democratic platform in 2020, quote, Democrats believe that the interests and the voices of the American people should determine our elections. Money is not speech and corporations are not people. Democrats will fight to pass a constitutional amendment that will go beyond merely overturning Citizens United and related decisions like Buckley versus Vallejo by eliminating all private funding from financial elections. Who knew that the Democrats had said that in 2020? That's what I thought. How many people believe in that statement? How many think that the Democrats should be campaigning on that statement? I'd like to make one more thing. This was in 19...
I'm sorry, could you read your question for the Congresswoman so we make sure we get to as many questions tonight as possible?
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to know your position on these issues. I've asked you and our senators for 7 years about campaigning on this issue. And the Democrats, even now, every single person on the air and in the newspaper giving ideas about what Democrats can do. This is like the elephant in the room that nobody talks about and nobody touches. I give deference to thinking it's because you're nowhere near 2/3 of the House and the Senate and you don't raise it because you don't think you can get a constitutional amendment. My position is that if you campaign on it, you could get close to 2/3 enough to make others read the writing on the wall. How do you stand on that, Congressman Hoyle? And would you support campaigning on such an issue? And which I want to say, it needs to be expanded across the branches. No private funding for presidential inaugurations or libraries or judicial nominations either.
So, thank you. I agree 100%. And I have campaigned on overturning Citizens United, getting money out of politics. When Citizens United was overturned, money came into politics, we basically lost our democracy. In fact, my last town hall that was in Springfield was with Tiffany Mueller, who is the executive director of End Citizens United. We did a town hall on getting money out of politics here in Lane County, 2 in Lane County, here in Springfield, and then also in Florence. So I talk about it all the time when people say, what happened to our democracy? It is, 1, money in politics. We have got to stop letting people buy elections. I believe in public financing of campaigns, so you don't just have the people who are richest being able to buy their way to the ballot. So that's number 1. Number 2, I believe that we should ban gerrymandering and that people, that we should have nonpartisan redistricting, and I have that with a caveat. I believe that the whole country should have nonpartisan redistricting, but as long as Texas is going to redistrict at the behest of the president, then we have to respond in kind. But nonpartisan redistricting would be another. And then finally, I believe that we should have ranked choice voting. I have for decades supported ranked choice voting. I supported the ballot measure when we had it last time, which again allows people to vote their conscience and really have people hear who they support. So yes, I agree with that, and I will continue to do it. And thank you for continuing to bring that up.
So the next ticket, I believe, was 2764. Is that was that your ticket already that you just asked about the two first ones? Yes, sir.
Hi, Val. This is Julie Daniel.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
So my question, interestingly, relates a little bit to the previous speaker, in that she asked us all to raise our hands if we'd heard of something. And that is kind of my point with the Democratic Party, is we are not hearing any leadership on platform. We're not seeing any grassroots organizing. We're not seeing people knocking on our doors. Democrats are losing voting registrations. I know that you are just one Democrat, but what can you tell us about what the Democratic Party is doing nationwide to take back politics to the people?
So, I don't know what they're doing nationwide, but I do think that they lost focus on working people, and that's why Democrats lost elections. I mean, starting with NAFTA, when we gave incentives for people to ship American jobs offshore so that the people who own the companies could profit, while people who had good paying jobs lost them, those people used to vote for Democrats, and they don't anymore. I mean, the fact of the matter is that I think that we should be talking about working people. In Congress, there are a few of us that we're tired of waiting. So we have formed a group of economic populists, everyone from Greg Kazar, who's the head of the Progressive Caucus, to Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, who's the head of the Blue Dogs in more conservative districts. For those of us who talk about working people and really focus on those issues. So I can only say what I'm doing. I will tell you the best thing that I've seen coming out of Democrats, other than Gavin Newsom, who right now is amazing. He's the kind of fight that we need right now, is from Mitch Landrieu, who's former mayor of New Orleans, and he has what's called the Working Class Project, where they're doing focus groups around the country with people that used to vote for Democrats and don't anymore, and why they feel disconnected. I mean, part of it is a media sphere where the right owns a lot of the media, and they have talking points, it's easier when you're lying, that are really, really clear, and they get it repeated on the radio, on Fox News, on Newsmax. I mean, we had my mother's memorial last week, and I was there with family, and a third of them are Trump supporters, and they kept saying the same things because they get their talking points every single day. So we cannot underestimate the power of propaganda, but the bigger issue is, for me, coming from a labor background, coming into politics through labor, I can say Democrats need to focus on working people and these issues and fairness. And that's what people across the board want. So I'm tired of waiting, so we put together a group. Right now, it's about 25 of us to 28 of us in the House, and we're working to bring this message forward. But for those of you who haven't, on the Substack, check out the Working Class Project. They're doing great work and bringing forward great information, and I send it to every single one of my colleagues.
Thank you for that. Next is 2747. 2747. Are you out there? If you are number 2747, would you raise your hand?
Right over.
Thank you. And after that will be 2816. I'm sorry, everyone is here to hear the congresswoman. If I could ask you to please have a seat, thank you. So after 2747 will be 2816. Where is 2816?
All right, do we have a mic for this person over here?
2747, and is 2816 in there, ma'am? Thank you. So after that, we'll go over to this side. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Taylor. I am the leader for Indivisible 18. Open Splits says they can accept over $50,000 in
Mike's not working.
The campaign contributions from Israeli lobbies. My question to you is why you support weapons to Israel and why you refuse to acknowledge that what's happening in Gaza is genocide.
There is something saying that I've taken $70,000 from AIPAC. I don't take money from AIPAC. And there is certainly people, I'm sorry, but you know what? He asked a question, I'm going to answer. I'm sorry, if you cannot listen politely and allow me to answer, then we're going to have to ask you to leave.
For $64,000.
So, sir, I'm sorry, it is not your turn. Sorry. So, there are people that support J Street, which supports a two-state solution, and people who support J Street do support me, and they support Jeff Merkley. So that's a fact, but fundamentally, I have signed on to the Block the Bombs bill, led by Delia Ramirez, which says that there should be no offensive weapons sent to Israel. I do believe what's happening is ethnic cleansing. I've said that on the floor of the House. I've talked about the starvation. We've signed letters. We've called them out. I do not believe Benjamin Netanyahu wants an end to the war, and it is clear what he wants is for the Palestinian people to be eliminated from Gaza and from the West Bank, and I believe that our government is complicit, and I will continue to speak out about that, which is again why I have signed on to the Block the Bombs bill. But again, elections have consequences, and we do not have those levers, but I will continue to speak out, and I believe the American people are with us on that issue.
I'm sorry, folks. It's really not okay that this many people showed up. The Congresswoman is answering your questions if you will listen to what she has to say.
I think I said at a previous debate, if one of my opponents could stop the war in Gaza, I would vote for him. If I could stop it, I would. If I could, but I don't have that power right now. But I will tell you what, I am showing up at this town hall, and I get that you don't want people to be able to ask their questions, but we're going to continue doing this. Your question was asked, your question was answered. So next question.
Number 2828 over here. The person who has the mic has the floor. Let's please be respectful of our neighbors. Everybody decided to come out and spend time here tonight. Let's respect the person with the mic. That includes our Congresswoman. Thank you.
Good evening, Congresswoman Hoyle. My name is Amanda Wojcik. I am a professor at the University of Oregon. Right now, our administration is preparing to eliminate or drastically cut essential academic programs: religious studies, German and Scandinavian, indigenous and ethnic studies, physics, history, math, the library, and more. These aren't luxury disciplines. They are what make a university a university. I have tenured colleagues, brilliant, devoted educators who found out this summer that their jobs are at great risk of being cut this September. Departments that have served generations of students are being gutted with no real transparency and no meaningful faculty voice in the process. This is more than just budget math. This is the slow, quiet dismantling of public higher education in Oregon. If we allow these cuts to go forward, we are telling our students that knowledge only counts if it turns a profit. And we are telling our faculty who have tirelessly served our institution that tenure is meaningless. Congresswoman Hoyle, I'm asking for your help, not just as a legislator, but as someone who cares about Oregon's future. What can you do to help protect academic integrity and prevent these losses from becoming a dangerous precedent?
So thank you for that question. So I was speaking with an adjunct professor yesterday who was going through all of these things. I will say, taking a step back, I was a first-generation college student that went to school on Pell Grants and student loans. The administration right now wants to end public education. Definitely higher education, because that's where you teach people free thinking. And they don't want that. They want to change history. They want to change history to teach young people that slavery wasn't that bad. So we have that, and they're pulling money from our institutions of higher education. They're making it so that immigrants can't come here to study. And it is a great attack, but again, with a lot of forethought. They do not want people who can't afford to pay for it themselves to be educated, because when you're educated, then you can speak up and fight back. So I do have a call into the administration. I agree with you. When you have these programs, they're critical. It's critical to have the arts and humanities. I will also say that Oregon spends less on their higher education than almost any other state in the union. So we are woefully behind how we as a state should take responsibility for our institutions, and I also have been talking to my colleagues at the state level. Now, we're going to be billions of dollars short because of the changes in the big ugly bill that was passed through in the dead of night. So we're going to continue to fight to make sure that people understand the consequences of that bill, because most people here pay attention to politics a lot. Most people that aren't here aren't paying attention to politics because it's messy, it's uncomfortable, and they're just trying to get through day to day. So my job is to make sure people know what's happening. I have great concerns, and I want to make sure that the University of Oregon has the kind of classes that allows our students to be well-rounded. And you're right, those classes are critical and they are important, and it's not fluff. So why don't you make sure to get your name to one of my staff, and we'll get back to you about what we're hearing.
Thank you. 2714. 2714. Oh, back there. And after that will be 2856. 2856 is after this person over here at this end of the thing.
Hi, my name is Jude McKay, and my question is, with the form of government that we have in the Constitution, it seems like the slide for autocracy and fascism is easier to achieve than stopping the advance. And I would like to know what are our prospects for seeing effective blocking, which won't take 5 years through the courts, to some of the illegal and unprecedented things being carried out by the president.
Yeah. As I said previously, elections have consequences. We don't have the levers of power, but we are using what power we do have. Fortunately, we've got the 60-vote threshold in the Senate that can stop many, many bad things. We have the courts. When people ask what can we do, what I say is we have Congress, courts, and the community. I really, really hope that we have elections in 2026 because the president is making it clear that he does not want us to have free and fair elections. So that's the number one thing that we need to fight for. So we have Congress, we have a 4-seat, they have a 4-seat majority, the Republicans do, and they know they can't run on their record, which is why they're redistricting. So what we're looking at is Texas today just passed their new gerrymandered maps that add 5 Republican seats. Indiana is planning to redistrict at the request of the president, Florida, Missouri, and Ohio. So, fundamentally, we have to get out and make sure that we have every single vote and tell people what's happening, but it's Congress. So we did stop the big ugly bill. It came out at 1 o'clock in the morning. They wanted to pass it through so that nobody could know what was in it, even though the effects were absolutely devastating. Throwing people off of Medicaid, you know, they're cutting Medicare, Social Security, food stamps, saying, you know, it's lazy people that they're just taking off of food stamps. $6 a day. $6 a day. So that billionaires could get tax cuts that went into effect right away. Blowing up our deficit by another $4 trillion. So what we need to do is get out and talk to our neighbors. And I understand that a lot of people communicate and connect via social media. And on social media, what you have is an algorithm that keeps you outraged, that connects you with people that already believe what you believe. And what we've lost, like my neighbors, I live in a rural community, I live in a conservative community, my neighbors believe different facts than I do. So I go out and talk to my neighbors. But Congress, we're going to continue to bring up amendments. We're going to continue to make Republicans vote on things that we know are unpopular, that we know that their constituents don't want. That big ugly bill, it will affect rural communities, most of all. And so we have to point it out and not let them lie about it. The courts, it may take 5 years, but we are seeing success in the courts, even by Republican-appointed judges. Now, we have a Supreme Court that has been bought and paid for by Leonard Leo. And so we can't count on them for everything, but we have to keep calling out the constitutional overreach. So we'll call it out, we'll bring up bills, we'll bring up amendments, we speak on the floor of the House, go to Republican districts because they won't hold town halls like this, and talk to their constituents about what's happening. So we're doing that as well. So how to fight back, Congress, courts, and the community. So that means stepping up, and I am so proud of this community who stood up on the No King's Day. 10,000 people, right? We had the tiniest towns with hundreds or thousands of people getting up. And you know what Stephen Miller said today? Well, that's just a few old white hippies, right, who are opposing the militarization of Washington, D.C. Well, let me tell you something about old white hippies. We're not going to step down. They want us to feel powerless. But if we step up and stand up every single day and don't get discouraged, that matters. Showing up matters. Speaking out matters. And I know it may sound like it's a small thing, but telling your stories about what is happening and the effects of this administration, that matters, because then I can go in committee or on the floor of the House and tell those stories and say, look, this is what you voted for. So you can say all day long that you didn't cut Medicaid because it's just people who don't deserve it, but we can tell the stories about the bureaucratic obstacles that they're putting in place because they want the most vulnerable people not to get basic care. Your sign's upside down. There you go. Okay, so fundamentally, we'll do what we can. gonna fight for the 2026 election, and then keep showing up and communicate with us so that we can tell those stories as well.
2856, where's 2856? Over here, and after that will be 2718. Where's 2718? Where's 2718 right there? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Howard Newman. Our federal government is being run on the mafia model of doing business, where extortion and paying tribute have replaced sound, small d, democratic processes and policy. Do you and the Democratic leadership have a strategy going forward to effectively message, that is, tell the American people that these criminals will be held accountable should you regain the House in 2026?
Absolutely. I mean, again, I can speak to, and I think I spoke to my frustrations previously about messaging of the larger Democratic Party, but for those of us who talk to working people on a regular basis, we absolutely, we have to follow the rules, and if we don't follow the rules, we're held accountable, and they will be held accountable because history will not look on them well, and they do absolutely need to be prosecuted for the crimes that they've committed, but we can't do that until we actually have control of the House and we have Jamie Raskin overseeing the Judiciary Committee as chair, and Robert Garcia as chair of the Oversight Committee, because right now, trusting Jim Jordan to do anything but kiss Donald Trump's ass is asking for too much. Because, I mean, it is stunning to watch Republicans who absolutely have no backbone, who ran on upholding the Constitution, that will not say boo because they're afraid. They're afraid to lose their next election. They're afraid because they're getting the same kind of threats that we are, and Donald Trump will send the MAGA people after them. But fundamentally, if I'm going to lose my election because I stood up to a criminal, I'd sleep at night, and I don't understand why my colleagues aren't doing the same. But so the answer is yes, and we've talked to Jamie Raskin, and if you look at the work that Robert Garcia is doing on the Oversight Committee as ranking member, he's doing phenomenal things without power in holding this administration accountable.
Over here, after that will be 2793. 2793 after this person. Are you still here? 2793 over here. So where's 2718? Staff is looking for you. You were over on this side now. 2718? Is that that? Oh. So 2793. Go with this. Thank you. And after that will be 2831. Are you? 2831 is here.
Okay, there. Okay, go ahead, ask your question.
Okay. Given the fact that we don't have the power, I recognize that, and I also strongly encourage any messages that can be done to tell people that these cuts to their programs are not going to happen until after 2026, which is a masterful strategy to prevent people from voting against them. What are you doing, or what can be done about the increased militarization and the suppression to suppress voting in 2026, as well as steps such as what Trump just did to attack vote by mail, again, working to suppress those votes? Because first, we need to fight to get the message out about kitchen table issues, but secondly, we have to get people to the polls, and they are now developing strategies that will flat out prevent people from doing that. What steps are you taking for that?
So you are right. They're going to do everything possible to make it so that we can't vote in the next election because they know they can't win a fair election. And in terms of Donald Trump stopping vote by mail, because people have asked me about it, well, what are you going to do if he stops vote by mail? He can't do that because the states are in charge of time, place, and manner of how we conduct our elections. But what they have done a masterful job of is undermining the faith in our election system. I mean, vote by mail, which they were pushing last year because they knew it would get more Republican votes, right? Literally, Donald Trump was pushing vote by mail. Now he's saying vote by mail is terrible. You literally have a paper copy of your ballot. Why would you not want that if you cared about election integrity? But it is all about messaging, and it is all about getting their base to believe that elections are fraudulent when they lose. So we are setting up, and you know, for some of my colleagues, you know, I think that it is a travesty that when Democrats had control, they did not pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. They didn't pass, you know, protection of elections, but here we are. So we're going to have to fight just like John Lewis fought for the vote when he was a young person. And we're going to need lawyers going to the states where they are going to have voter suppression. The bottom line is, in Oregon, we are lucky. We have Tobias Reed, who is our Secretary of State, who will do everything he can to make sure that we vote and we have a free and fair election. And we have Dan Rayfield, and if you're not following what our Attorney General is doing, you should do that. He is fighting the Trump administration at every single level with Democratic Attorney Generals. I was on the phone today with someone who is running an organization to get state judges and state Supreme Court judges, Democratic, progressive state Supreme Court judges elected all throughout the country because, again, we lost the courts. We've got to pick up the courts again. And if we can get our message out, which means talking in a real, authentic manner to real, authentic people, then I know we can win. But you're right to be worried. And in terms of the militarization, let's be clear. The reason, I'll tell you, crime in D.C. is down 30%. This isn't about crime in D.C., right? Any more than their immigration raids, what ICE is doing is about keeping our streets safe. It is not. When you send the military in, they are not trained to de-escalate. And they are not putting the troops in places where, in the high crime areas, they're putting it in places where we're going to have to go to work, where Democrats are, where people are protesting. And so we have to speak out about that. In fact, some of the Republican states that are sending National Guard to Washington, D.C. have cities with higher crime rates than Washington, D.C. So this is fear-mongering, this is race-baiting, and this is working to get those of us who want to speak out to stop talking, to sit down, to be afraid. And this may be the most dangerous time to speak up, but this is the only time to speak up because there's more of us than there are of them, and they want to create fear. This is about creating fear. And it's scary, but that doesn't mean that we sit down. So if there are lawyers in the room, we're going to need you all over the country. Again, protecting voting rights and telling those stories so that those people that are getting fed misinformation by Fox News understand what's happening and understand that their constitutional rights are being eliminated. But I'll tell you what, people support vote by mail. I mean, even in my Trump plus 38 parts of my district, and I go to those parts of my district as well as here, they like vote by mail. They don't want to stand in line in November in the rain, right? So there will be a ballot measure trying to repeal vote by mail here in Oregon. It's a vehicle for disinformation, and we'll keep vote by mail here, but in order, 2026 is really our last best chance to preserve our democracy, and we have to have some kind of ability to check and balance the executive branch. So that's what I'm focused on, is making sure we hold the seats we have and we pick up other seats, which is why I've been going to Republican areas and Republican districts and doing town halls where Republicans won't.
2811 is next. 2811. Where are you?
When did you co-sponsor Block?
Sorry, are you 2811 here?
I already did co-sponsor it, so excuse me, Mr. Phillip, it is not your time to talk.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask you to take a seat because I know fairness matters to you and fairness is
Mr.
what
Phillip,
is-
sit down. Sir, so this guy checks facts the way Donald Trump does. The fact of the matter is, I have signed on to the bill. They haven't gotten it on the website yet, but I have signed on to it. So you can sit down. It is not your town hall. You lost. I won my town hall. Sit down. Thank you very much.
You ready? 2811, or are you doing 2831? I'm sorry, I got 2831, thank you.
Hey, my name is Deb Christensen. I live out in Pleasant Hill. And I just want to kind of go off of what you just said about the militarization of our National Guard and the policing bringing soldiers in. That's a big concern of mine. You know, I'm married to a retired soldier who was National Guard for a while. And, you know, the oath they take is to defend we the people. And I just want to make a big effort to remind everyone, and especially the Guard and the soldiers, that we are the people and that they should not be standing against us. They should be standing with us against the illegal acts and the traitors that are taking over our country. And in particular, I'm really concerned, some personal contacts and family, about the immigration status and the way these people are being treated. I know you don't have the power right now, but is it possible you could at least go and do your right to visit those detention facilities and actually expose the conditions that these people are being held under?
So we,
humanity in all this, and we
Yeah.
just can't care for one another anymore. Come on, folks, let's do that part of it.
right. And again, this administration, their focus is to demonize people and other people, whether it's immigrants or the LGBT community. I mean, the attacks on our trans community have been, you know, unbelievable. And then again, people on food stamps, people on Medicare and Medicaid. But what is happening to immigrants, again, under the guise of we're keeping Americans safe, they're picking people up by using tax data. These are tax-paying individuals. So it was never about following the law. They're going to schools, they're going to medical centers, they're going to job sites. They're going to the courts where people are following the rules as outlined by their immigration status, and they're picking them up and deporting them. More importantly, they're sending them to other countries. So that's kidnapping and interning. That is no longer deporting. I'm a second-generation American. I am married to an immigrant. This is a very personal issue. We have worked to go to the ICE center here. What they're doing is they're shipping people up to Portland and Tacoma so that they can't have their community around them to help them. But we're working on getting to the ICE center here. We're working to get the information on when they're holding their hearings. So when I'm home, we're trying to coordinate when I'm home, when they're holding the hearings, so that I can go there. There also has been a lawsuit by members of Congress who have been kept out of ICE detention centers. Should they continue to stall, and if they block me from going there, because we'll just go down there, then I will join that lawsuit. And what I will say is, if you know someone that has been picked up by ICE, that has, been stopped coming across the border, or is having an issue with their immigration. There's someone I spoke to, she's a doctor, she has a green card. She does gender-affirming care, and she's afraid. She's afraid to do anything and put anything on social media, and I said, you're right, you shouldn't. But she said, I'm looking at going to British Columbia, even though she is a great doctor, and we will lose that care because she is afraid that they will come and target her and pick her up. And these are the things that we need to speak out about and put ourselves on the front lines, those of us who don't look like immigrants, because they are targeting people, even American citizens, who look like immigrants, and we need to stand up and again, Eugene has not seen what they've seen down in LA and on the border, but I know it is just a matter of time. So I am reaching out. We are working out with we are working with our immigrant rights advocates and are in contact with them on a regular basis. So thank you.
Right now. 2811. How about 27?
We got it back here.
Thank you. And after that will be 2732.
Congresswoman, you spoke earlier in answer to another question about the limited ability that you have as a member of the minority. But back in the spring, you and congressional Democrats in the House and those of us who worked hard to push for a government shutdown were stabbed in the back by Chuck Schumer and about half a dozen Senate Democrats. There's another opportunity coming in the fall when we get to the appropriations bills, the budget bills for the next fiscal year. Will Democrats stick together this time and bring the government, the Trump regime, to a halt by not funding it for the next fiscal year?
So I want to be clear, in the House, we stood firm and we voted no. I can't speak for the Senate, but I know I've spoken to our senators, and September 30th is when they will need another continuing resolution. We have people like Thomas Massie. I don't agree with him on a lot, but at least he votes his conscience and does not let Donald Trump flip his vote. He will not vote for a budget that explodes the national debt. I'm hoping that this time we'll be able to stop it. I will not vote for this kind of budget and to give this administration power and money to do the things that they are doing to undermine our democracy. I'm hoping Schumer will see his way to do the same, but I can't speak for the Senate. I'm not in the Senate.
Is 2732? 2732? Over here? Can we get a mic over here? And after that will be, we're winding it down. So after that will be 2780.
Hi, Representative Hoyle. I really appreciate what you were saying about immigration. Could we get the Democrats to explain that our country has been made great by people who are immigrants who have built some of the best companies and hired all the people who take the cops and make the country work? I just feel like Stephen Miller's vision of this flight America is happening right now, and is there anything we can do to get the Democrats to help us stop him from yanking people and having this quota of how many people ICE has to pull in every single day? I mean, it's ridiculous how they're going to do it.
Yeah. Again, what I will point out to you is that there are many people that hear propaganda that they're just picking up criminals and murderers, right? And that is not the case. In fact, the Trump administration brought back an immigrant that was a triple murderer because he would give evidence against Mr. Abrego Garcia. So again, this was never, ever about keeping us safe. And this country, we are a country of mainly immigrants, or descendants of immigrants, and telling those stories is important. Again, what I do is I talk to people who aren't hearing the same information and giving them the facts and telling them those stories. But you're starting to see it in Texas, in those areas that have high, large Latino communities. They're getting targeted. Now they have the Latino communities in Texas, in Florida, have been voting more conservative, have been voting for Republicans, but as they are facing all of the things that ICE are doing, and understand, in that budget, they gave more money to ICE than most armies in most countries, more so than all of federal law enforcement and corrections together. So Stephen Miller's vision is what they're pushing forward with. We have to keep speaking up and, again, letting people know the actual facts of what's happening. So we'll continue speaking up everywhere we can.
Thank you. So our last questioner is number 2780. Can you come here? 2780. Our last questioner is
Sorry, what number?
We have number 2780 has the mic, and this will be our final question. It's my turn to ask a question, sir. Sit down.
I'm not going to respond to someone screaming at me. I will not respond to someone screaming at me. I will not respond to someone screaming at me. She has the next question. I don't give in to bullies. I am not answering your question. Don Leslie.
Thank you for your many years of public service, including and especially this especially difficult assignment you are carrying for us right now. I can barely follow the news lately without wailing or curling up in a ball, and you have a front row seat to this dumpster fire, and you cannot look away, and I appreciate your efforts to mitigate the negative impact of the toxic administration. I am deeply concerned about the fracturing of the left, our deep difficulty in working together. If moderates and progressives could work together, we would not see this far-right minority achieving so much success and holding so much power. Meanwhile, with women's rights under assault like never before, might that be an issue that can actually unite us? Could it be women's rights? Can funding for Planned Parenthood survive? What can Congress do to protect women's voting rights, which are under assault, and the right to divorce abusive husbands and basically to live as human beings in a democracy?
Right. So one of the things I'm proudest of in Oregon is that we have stepped up at the state level to protect reproductive rights, to protect gender-affirming care, to protect the most vulnerable. There will be a ballot measure on the ballot this next year, the Equal Rights for All ballot measure that will codify, that take away the language that marriage is just between one man and one woman, because gay marriage, that's under attack. They're working to pull that back. A right to an abortion, a right that medical care should be a private decision, so gender-affirming care should be decided between a person and their physician and whoever else they want to consult, but not the government. But understand what they are trying to do with this Christian nationalist group that is in the administration, is to take away women's right to vote, right to speak, right to work, right to access birth control. And if you can't decide when you get pregnant and how many children you have, then you can't actually control your economic future. So I think this is an issue. Also, immigration is an issue. They want you to believe that it's something that most Americans agree with Donald Trump on. They fundamentally don't. People don't understand what we're going to lose until it's lost, which is why getting out and talking to people who don't believe the same thing that you do, that is critical and important. Stop outsourcing your social interactions to a social media algorithm that wants to keep you outraged. I appreciate everyone's passionate advocacy for your issues, and I'll still continue to show up because that's your First Amendment right. They want that taken away. They want us to be afraid to speak up, and they want to silence women because women, when we speak up for those who are most vulnerable. We speak up for those who we care for. We speak up for families. We speak up for justice. And they want to stop that, so we can't let them do that. So, again, we have to keep speaking up about what's happening and talking to people who, again, aren't the normal people that you speak with every day.
I'm sorry, the Congresswoman has answered your questions. The Congresswoman has answered questions about political issues. We have heard about voting rights, we've heard about gerrymandering, we've heard about sports, higher education, free and fair elections. We have heard about many issues that are many more. So please join me in thanking Congresswoman Hoyle.
Thank you.
Please get in touch with staff, and please, if you brought papers